already started?
Now.
Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to this session. And this time in this session, we've got the pleasure of having Regina Corona with us from Mexico. And
Yes.
he will be introducing the three presenters. And the structure of the session goes like this. Each presenter will share their poster with us for around 4 minutes. Then I will put you into breakout rooms for participants to ask further questions to the presenters. Regina, over to you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you very much for attending this session. We do appreciate it. Today, we have 3 teachers presenting their exploratory action research projects. 2 of them are from Mexico and 1 is from Brazil. And the first presenter is Priscilla Handa. She is an English language teacher and trainer. She works in the private sector in Brazil, and today she's presenting her exploratory action research project, Oops, I Did It Again, the use of error correction in speaking activities.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Depends on where you are located. It's a pleasure to be here. And can you share, please, the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
as Regina mentioned, I work for a private language institute in Brazil, and throughout the year I could notice that some of my adult students were facing the same problem. Some errors were preventing them from getting their message across. And I wanted to understand the underlying nature in more depth. So I used exploratory action research to understand the reasons why they were making such errors. Can you scroll down? Yes, okay. And I used error analysis. Oh my God. I think I forgot to, there was something wrong with this one. Can you move it from the front of this exploratory action research? Thank you. So there were 3 tools who were chosen for data collection: the journal, the recorded lessons, and the questionnaire. So these tools showed me that Regina, can you scroll down? These tools showed me that the errors were caused because of mother tongue influence, and it made the students feel very frustrated. So I decided to create a game. With false friends, which was the most frequent error that was identified in the data collection. And then I decided to create a game with these errors to play with them, and 6 games with 6 different group of words over 6 meetings. And the results showed that the action was very relevant because it drastically decreased the number of errors, and it helped students feel more comfortable during the speaking activities.
Thank you, Priscilla. Now, please welcome Maria Idea Cesar Peralta.
Hello, everyone.
She's an English language teacher in higher education at the Escuela Normal de Estudios Superiores del Magisterio Potosino in México. She is presenting her exploratory action research project, enhancing speaking participation through peer work.
Thank you, Regina. Hello, everyone. I hope you are doing well. And I'm going to present the exploratory action research that I work with one of my groups. And okay. Thank you, Regina. So the context is that the school that I work with, or I work at, sorry, it's in within a semi-urban context. So it's more rural than urban, but then it can be challenging, but that's like the context. The students are 34 students, 9 of them are male and 25 of them are female. Their ages go from 19 to 21 years old and their English level is A2. What's the relevance for this exploratory action research? Well, I was facing a very challenging situation since my students were non-active participants in expressing anything in English language. I was very concerned, and it was kind of it was very worrying for me that they were not interacting in English language. So I decided to ask or implement my data collection methods, which were a journal. Then I also implemented a questionnaire and then peer observation protocol. And then my research questions were 4. The first one was, why is student speaking participation during class important to me? What do my students think about speaking participation during class? That was number 2. And the third was, what do my students feel about speaking participation during class? And the last was, how often does speaking participation happen during class? Because I wanted to understand why it was not happening. I would like to address the fact that we were having online lessons, and just recently we changed into blended mode, the blended learning, and it took a time to adjust. So that's a factor that also influencing here. Anyway, the data collection was the journal, the questionnaires, and observation protocols. And the findings that I could get to was that contrary to or opposite to what I was thinking, my students did wanted to participate. They wanted to, but they wanted to do it in pairs. And I was just doing it in a whole class mode. That was the first finding. The other one, that's my I was just concentrated in eliciting correct answers from my students and not actually interaction. And then the action plan that I implemented were 2 actions. There were the 2 activities, one in the beginning of the class and the other one at the last part of the class. And each activity will last 10 minutes. And in the first activity, we will work descriptions, and the last one we will work role play. So in that way, students will be working in pairs, and then they will be using English speaking skills. And then I apply again my evaluation collecting methods, and I find out that my students, they found it very helpful, the descriptions and the role play, and around the 40% of them are actively participating from 1 to 3 times per class, and the 30% of them are participating between 3 to 6 times in class. So they are actively participating thanks to this. And what are my conclusions? Well, that I could get to actively producing language in my students. They help each other, that's very important. And also they get to have simple but effective communication achievement, which was the main point of this. Also, there are many things that I have to take care of because I implemented the descriptions and then I was getting them like a little bit complicated for them, like putting more elements into the descriptions, and that did not work at all. I need to work on that. I was getting excited and I just wanted to demand more from them. So I just decided that I don't have to do that, but it was very effective, and I will gladly be continuing working with descriptions and role play because they really liked it, and their attitude changed And the participation changed. Even in whole class mode, I don't even have to ask who wants to participate. They just come and they just speak. So it was a very wonderful journey for my students, for myself, because working together with my students really worked. And I could say that that's the only way to work. It's this reflective practice on what I do with them, so we can actually achieve the goals. Thank you. I don't know if I can. Yes? I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Idea.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. The next presenter is Mónica Carrión Ruiz. She is a full-time English teacher in higher education at the Escuela Normal de Estudios Superiores del Magisterio Potosino in Mexico. Today, she is presenting her exploratory action research, peer feedback in speaking activities.
Thank you, Regina. Hello, everyone. So, well, as Regina said, I work in a school in Mexico. My students are trainee teachers. This is that they are studying to become elementary teachers. They will be teachers in the future. And well, I have 15 students and their age are around 18 and 22. They are all level A2. And well, the thing is that I usually ask my students to make oral presentations to practice grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. But I noticed that when I asked them to give feedback to their classmates, this feedback was most of the time superficial or not as meaningful as I expected. They just said things like, oh, your presentation was very interesting, and just that, or it was okay, your presentation was okay, and just that, and without further analysis. So this project is relevant because by learning how to give feedback, students will improve not only their English, but also their personal and professional skills, especially because they will be teachers soon. And well, my exploratory questions were, what are my objectives when asking my students to give peer feedback? What support do I provide to my students to conduct peer feedback? And what do my students think about peer feedback? And for this, my exploratory tools were reflective journal to have a better understanding of my objectives when asking my students to give peer feedback. Peer observation to get an external point of view of the support that I provide my students to conduct peer feedback, and questionnaire for students to know what my students think about peer feedback. And after my exploration, I found out that the objectives were actually clear for me and for my students. At the beginning, I thought that they didn't have they didn't know the objectives very clearly, right? But they actually do know why they have to give feedback to their classmates. And well, I found out that the rubrics and the checklists that I have been using for this strategy were not always suitable for the activities. And my students did not understand how to use these tools, the rubrics and the checklist for this, to give peer feedback. So I realized that I needed to provide better tools, and also I needed to model how to use the rubric. All my students agreed that peer feedback helps them improve their English and that it was a good strategy, but sometimes they did not know how to express their opinion, or also they thought that they don't have enough knowledge to give meaningful feedback to their classmates. And that's why I decided also provide a lot of examples of how to express their opinions and their comments. So the action question was how to improve peer feedback. And the plan was designing a speaking activity that was an oral presentation designing a rubric for this activity, specifically for this activity. And before the presentation, showing students an example and model how to give feedback using the rubric. And finally, having students do their presentation individually and ask the rest of the class to give feedback using the rubric. The action plan was implemented 100% online. And after applying the intervention, I noticed that by using the rubric, students felt more confident when giving feedback to their classmates, and they knew exactly what to do. They had a lot of examples, and I modeled the activity before, so they knew exactly what to do. And therefore, the feedback was more meaningful. However, some of them still feel that they do not know enough English to give meaningful feedback. They still feel a little bit they think that they have to improve their English in order to give a better feedback. But I told them that they just need to practice a little bit more. And they agree that the strategy is good and that it's helping them to improve their English, and also that they need these skills for their professional practice as future teachers. So the conclusion that I reached from this experience is that students need more guidance and modeling and more examples to get familiar with peer feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monica. Dario, can you show us the next phase of these presentations, please?
Sure, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And so this is what we're going to do now. You will find, or I will open 3 different breakout rooms. One is Priscilla, that's the name of the breakout room. The second breakout room is Maria Idea, and the third one is Monica. So the idea is that all the participants in this session can go and visit the different breakout rooms to ask questions to the speakers, to the presenters. Please, presenters, if you find yourself all alone in your breakout room, do not leave the room, please, because maybe some other people will be joining you later, and we don't want them to go into your room and don't find you there. So so please stay there, even if you are on your own. So the idea is, again, to have this opportunity to have a chat, questions, comments with the presenters, and then we are coming back into the main room. The participants could choose one breakout room, and then if you want to go into another room, what you've got to do is choose leave room or leave breakout room, and that will take you back into here, into the main room, and then you can choose another one. Please do not click on leave meeting, because if you click on that one, you will be kicked out of the meeting entirely, right? I mean, you can always come back using the link, but that's not the plan. So I'll open now the rooms for about 30 minutes. And, you know, you are more than welcome to choose the one you want. First of all, let's make sure that Priscilla is in her room, Maria in her room, and Monica in her room. So I have opened the rooms now, so you can choose which one you want to be in. Welcome back. And so I would like to invite each of the presenters to give us a summary of what happened in their own rooms, what kind of discussions, what kind of questions emerged. So Priscilla, could you give us a wee summary of what happened in your room? What kind of discussions took place.
Okay, I guess my destiny is to be the first
Oh, yes.
in everything. What I was talking to Jessica about is the fact that she said that it was very curious because as she deals with Spanish speakers, they tend to do something related, similar to what my students do, which is sometimes they create some words to help them to communicate. But I told her that sometimes it happens when they share cultural background that is a little bit more similar. Like I think that when you create some words and like if it's between Mexican student and Brazilian student, as Spanish is more similar to Portuguese, that's not such a big problem as if you're talking to somebody from Japan, for example, because I help some of my students with negotiation with English speakers from Japan, and it was more difficult for him to be understood by these speakers. And if I didn't know how to speak Japanese, I think I would struggle a lot more to understand them, because I share this cultural and linguistic background, so I could understand. I think this person is trying to say this, but if not, I think it would prevent them from being capable of negotiating and communicating with their clients.
Yeah. Lovely, thank you. Maria Idea, please, over to you.
Yes, of course. Thank you. I was very interested being talking with Nicole. We were talking about, speaking participation. We were talking about the vergüenza or shame, or the feeling that the students have when that's preventing them to participate, which is being ashamed, or being afraid of making mistakes. That's a big issue that has influence in Spanish speakers. And then we're also talking about role play, like a strategy that is very effective for students somehow. They enjoy being someone else or acting things. And that's very effective, for instance. We were also talking about agency, how they, how they can be not responsible, but, know they can embody that, how can I say? I don't know how to explain it like with words, but it's just, trying to empower students in this regard so they can be, fluent, they can use the language in a more organic way. I think that maybe perhaps summarize it. Yes, thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Maria. And last but not least, Monica, over to you.
Thank you. Well, there were so many good comments and advice in the room, and I'm going to try to be to summarize the ideas. First of all, Jorge is a teacher in Argentina, and he was telling me that I could use some useful expressions I can show the students useful expressions for constructive feedback, and how to be more how to provide feedback in a polite, kind way, and I can help my students with some expressions to help them to express this feedback. And also he was advising to put myself in my students' shoes and to take the role as a student, giving and receiving feedback as they do, right? So this gives you the whole perspective. And also a very good idea that compare the feedback that my students get at the beginning of the course, the peer feedback, and the peer feedback they get at the end of the course, and compare both of them to have a better understanding of the progress, like how they manage to improve themselves this feedback. And also, well, critical thinking is also important. Peer feedback helps you to develop critical thinking, because you have to go deep into the whole skills, right? Like, okay, so what did I do right, and what did my partner do right, and how can they improve, and how can I improve myself? So by giving feedback to other people also helps you to develop your own critical thinking. And well, Irene was there too in the class, and she says that she teaches kids, but she wants to implement this strategy also for kids. And I think that's very good, because it helps you from the very beginning, right? From when you're a child, to take into account other people's opinion, and also it teaches you how to give your opinion to others. So I think it's very good that Irene wants to implement feedback, implement peer feedback in her class with kids. And also she was mentioning something very interesting, that this strategy, peer feedback, helps you as a teacher to, with your your load of work, right, with your work, because now you give the responsibility to the students to actually provide feedback instead of you, and it helps you also you don't have a lot of work to do now that your students are helping you with feedback, right? But it's actually really good, because you get a lot of points of view that helps you also as a teacher to make even better feedback to your students. So that's in general what happened in the room. And also Ila was there. Thank you, Ila, for your comments.
Thank you, Monica. Regina, any final comments from you, any reflections about your role as a mentor?
Yes, this is the second time around that I take this role, and it has been an amazing experience, because the first time it was through the Champion Teachers program, and now it's happening as part of this volunteering community of practitioners. And I am very happy to be part of it, because I can share whatever skill that I have with my colleagues, because I know that Mexico is a challenging place to work, and that most of the time we don't have support. So through exploratory action research, we become more empowered and more reflective practitioners. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Let me share my screen in case you haven't had the chance yet. So if you visit the program, you will find that each title has a link. So if you click on the title, and if you click on that link, that will take you, for example, to Priscilla's Padlet, and the same thing with the other presentations, with Maria Idea's presentation, that's her Padlet, and the same thing with Monica's. So do feel free to click on these Padlets to have more details about the presentations, about the posters, and about the fantastic work that our colleagues have carried out. And one final thing from me is, if you haven't, wait, let me copy this in. And so there's a link for you in case you want to have a certificate from IATEFL. So this is just one certificate for the whole conference. So if you have filled in this form already, there's no need to do it again. So that's the link, and that link will take you to a Google form where you will input your details so that then you get a certificate. So this is all from me, and I would like to thank you all for being here with us today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. And before I go, I would like to thank Regina, I would like to thank the presenters, the participants, and Zening for taking care of the room and for making sure that everything runs smoothly. Okay, well, thank you very much indeed. Bye, everyone.